present day, social studies teachers are encouraged and in fact required to use modern instructional materials to teach social studies in order to make the classroom more lively, understandable, and comprehensively to all learners. And so we are here, the group assigned to discuss the Unit 4, which is the instructional materials in social studies. But before that, let me introduce myself first. I am Rialyn Rendora, 21 years old, taking a Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Social Studies, third year from Section 2. So in my part, I'm gonna discuss four things: the cone of experience, what is social studies, the concept of instructional materials and its categories, and how teacher can use the cone of experience as a guide. But before we start to the main discussion, let me start this with a quote from William saying, "All students can learn and succeed, but not in the same way and not in the same day." So whatever we're going through now, I hope you all get this quote. So without further ado, let's start. What is social studies? So social studies is an integrated field of study which focuses on the person in his environment with a view to synthesize this person with the symbiotic relationship or interaction between this person to his environment and equipping him with the intellectual reflective or the skill to identify and conquer his life and environmental problems and make his social living worth the bother. So furthermore, social studies inculcates the person's societal approved and desirable value systems and attitudes. Social studies as an integrated discipline brings the social sciences together, especially at basic education level. For example, at primary school level, social studies lay emphasis on local community and the family. Then after primary school, the subject integrates social sciences and humanities in order to enhance knowledge of civic or and at tertiary level, social studies borrowed from sociology and political science, but its curriculum is not limited to either sociology or political science as it borrows concepts, for example, religion and humanities, because social studies draws from many disciplines and synchronize them together. So, social studies is considered to be interdisciplinary. So, next, what are the concepts of instructional materials? So, the word instructional materials is used to refer to all resources available to the instructors and the learners that are utilized to make the teaching and learning easier. So as a result, such resources can be both human and non-human as long as they help people acquire and evaluate information, skills, attitudes, morals, and values. You know the importance of instructional materials. It is because it has been discovered that regular words or verbalization are insufficient for successful instructions. And so instructional materials act as a for dissemination of messages, information, ideas, and knowledge. So they can be manipulated, seen, heard, felt, and discussed, and they make things easier. So they can be anything or anybody that the learner turns to for assistance with his or her learning. So meanwhile, to put emphasis on instructional materials in social studies, it says that instructional materials in social studies appear to depict those educationally relevant and irrelevant human, non-human materials, places, events, and experiences to which the learner is exposed in teaching learning scenario and with its interaction with the society. For example, the field trips or the visits to historical locations. Then, for example, the learner may the accusation of unwanted behavior. Then, the current society's mix of complicated social attitudes and contradictory values necessitates instructors' employment of value, clarification in the application of social studies, instructional materials, and tools. So, instructional materials are indispensable factors in a teaching learning process. This is because ordinary words or verbalization has been found to be inadequate for effective learning or effective teaching rather. Instructional materials serve as channels through which message, information, and ideas and knowledge are disseminated. They can therefore be manipulated, seen, heard, felt, or talked about, so they facilitate activities. They are anything for anybody that the learner turns to help in this learning process. So, to sum up, all objects, things, people, and places utilized to promote the teaching and learning of social studies are considered instructional materials. So, the efficient use of materials, facilities, equipment, and the personnel facilitates the presentation of content in order to achieve in a stated goal. So, according to Jacob, instructional materials are anything and everyone that can be used by the teacher and students before, during, and after the class to help them achieve their goals are considered as instructional materials. So next, speaking of social studies, what are its categories? So according to Ufugbo, instructional materials has four categories. The resource materials that offers content, then the resource materials that present content, the projected and electronic media, and the software materials. So the resource materials that offer content, for example, the charts, the graphs, the audio recordings, the tools and that implements, prints, all kinds, for example, globes, maps, paintings, and resources in the community. So the resources that presents content such as the projectors, televisions, computers, and another grouping of instructional materials according to Ifugbo, which includes the human resources, which consists of individuals who provide various services in the teaching and learning process. So they include professionals and non-professionals. Meanwhile, to the non-human resources, which include the physical facilities and instructional materials, which serve as tools and devices through which stimuli can be passed or obtained. And the third one is the projected and electronic media that is subdivided into software and the hardware. So this group of materials require the use of electronic devices. So the fourth one is the software materials that consists of the audio tapes, video tapes, slides, film strips, and hardware materials are, for example, the audio tapes, slide projector, film projector, overhead projector, and so on and so forth. So going to the main topic, the unit has two subtopics. However, I'm going to discuss the first one, which is the cone experience as a guide. So who is the person behind this theory? So the cone of experience was developed by Edgar Dale in 1946. Edgar Dale continues to inspire educational technologies in the 21st century. He was born in the 90s at the dawn of the new millennium. So Dale was up on a North Dakota farm, and according to Wagner, Dale was carried on his Scandinavian forefathers' no-nonsense thinking patterns and strong work ethic throughout his remarkable career. So Dale got his bachelor's and master's degree at the University of North Dakota, partially through the correspondence courses. So while working on the family farm and then as a teacher in a small rural school, he earned his PhD at the University of Chicago in 1921 and went on to work for Eastman Kodak Company, where he worked on some of his first studies of learning from film. So Dale also served as the president of the National Education Association's Division of Visual Instruction from 1937 to 1938. So what is cone of experience? In 1946, Edgar Dale developed this theory on cones of experience. It is like a visual representation of the types of experiences that humans encounter as they prepare to synthesize the knowledge and convert it to understanding. So Dale mentioned that humans can encounter different types of experiences. Each level of experience results in a different level of effectiveness as it relies on the process of knowledge. So he has divided this model into three major categories, from the most abstract to the least abstract, as it travels down from the top to bottom. So according to Dale, the arrangement in the cone is based on the abstraction and the quantity of the senses involved. So the experiences in each stage can be mixed and are interrelated. That brings up more meaningful learning. So Dale cones of experience is a model that incorporates several theories related to instructional design and the learning processes. So let us take a look with the diagram here. According to Dale, who theorized this one, learners can retain more information of what they do as opposed to what is heard, read, or observed. So his research led to the development of the cone of experience. So today, this learning by doing has become known as experiential learning or the action learning. So I won't go further to the stages of this cone as Miss Charisma will discuss this one. So I'm just providing the overview of the cone of experiences as a guide. So lastly, how can teachers uses the cone of experience? So according to the Dell's research, the least effective method at the top involves learning from information presented through verbal symbols, either listening to spoken words. The most effective methods at the bottom involves direct, purposeful learning experiences such as the hands-on or the field experience. So um, the cone charts the average retention rate for various methods of teaching. So the further you progress down to the cone, is the greater the learning and the more information is likely to be retained. So it also suggests that when choosing an instructional method, it is important to remember that involving students in the process strengthens knowledge retention. It reveals that action learning techniques result in up to 90% of retention. So people learn best when they use perceptual learning styles. So perceptual learning styles are based on sensory sensors. So the more sensory channels possible in interacting with a resource, then the better chance that many students can learn from it. So according to Dale, instructors should design instructional activities that build upon more real-life experiences. Dale's cone of experience is a tool to help instructors make decisions about the resources and activities. So the instructors can ask the following. So for example, where will the students' experience with these instructional resources fit in the cone? How far it is removed from real life? What kind of learning experience do you want to provide in the classroom? How does this instructional resource augment to the information supplied in the textbook? What and how many senses that can students use to learn these instructional materials? Or does the instructional materials enhance learning? And so on and so forth. So that's all. This ends my part. For further understanding and knowledge, Miss Charisma will discuss it for you and the rest of my group mates. Thank you and hope you all understand. Thank you.